All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Pace. I'm one of the school counselors here at Radnor High School, and we are joined by Pat Gregg. She is the Director of Student Disability Services at St. Joe's University. So thanks for joining us tonight, Pat. I'll turn things
Uh,
over to you.
You're welcome. Hi, everyone. I'm Pat Gregg. As Sarah said, I'm the Director of Student Disability Services, St. Joe's. I'm going to touch upon some things you should think about on your college search as a student with a disability, and I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that we have to offer at St. Joe's. Um, First thing I'm going to say, do your research. Go to various schools, determine what services they're going to be able to provide for you and what level of support. It's going to vary from school to school because different schools have different programs. So go to like your admitted students days. Go to like all the visits that you can. If you, I know at St. Joe's we have admitted students days. We meet with students one on one, and they can tell us what accommodations they're receiving in high school, and we can say yes, we can, accommodate this, or no, this is not an accommodation at the college level. So by all means, whatever universities you're looking at, go to those admitted student days and go and meet with the people in the disabilities office and of course other offices on campus just to make sure you're making the right decision because it is a big decision. Things to consider when you're looking at colleges, like how many courses you'll need to take to be a full-time student, because sometimes residence life has a thing. You have to be a full-time student to live on campus. You have to have so many credits to be living on campus. You also want to make sure of the modality of the classes. I know at St. Joe's, freshmen can take online classes, and neither can sophomores. So sometimes you're a good in-person learner, or maybe you're better with an online class. So check out what kind of class they have. Are the restrictions for freshmen? Are the restrictions for upper class? Just check out that things. Check out the clubs, the extracurricular activities. Check out living arrangements, all different kinds of living arrangements. I know we have at St. Joe's, we have suites where it can be up to 15 people in a suite. We have smaller ones where just dorm rooms where it can be two people in a dorm room. And there's also like a smaller suite where I think it's like a limit of 10 people. Sophomore housing, you go into like apartments, and the thing apartments either hold two or four. Um, so look at the arrangements. Go take tours of the buildings, even the upper class buildings. Find out about it. If you need housing for an accommodation, find out about, do they provide single housing? Do they provide, like some people might need air conditioners, things like that. But look, ask questions. Cars on campus. At St. Joe's, freshmen are not allowed to have cars on campus unless you have documentation. If you have doctor's appointments or you may need to go home frequently for something, you'd have to get documentation. Then we could get you a car on campus and get you a permit. Also, check out social emotional needs. And I'm thinking clubs and stuff, social emotional needs. I'm thinking if you feel like you need to meet with counseling, find out how many counseling appointments you can have a semester. Do they have walking counseling? Do they have like student support services? Just go to the admitted student days and just really ask a lot of questions. Go and visit a lot. And we even have at St. Joe's like Walk with a Hawk, which students really like. You go and spend a whole day with a student, go to their classes with them, go to lunch with them, spend a whole day with them, and you get like a good idea what the experience is. And I know other universities have the same thing as we have. Um, you must present your documentation to the office. If you want to have accommodations, we'll review your documentation. If it's appropriate, we'll develop an accommodation plan. The university is responsible for granting the academic adjustments. We'll seek input from the students and other professionals, but it will be up to us to determine what accommodations are granted. Just because it's on your documentation does not mean it will be granted, because it may not be appropriate at the college level. The type of documentation that we're looking for, the most important thing and the best thing is your psychoeducational evaluation. Needs to be current within 3 years. You're going to get your psychoeducational evaluation from your high school, most likely. They probably have it on file. And I would ask your guidance counselor or your support team at Radnor right now, like, hey, is my documentation current? If it's not current, have it updated so it will be current when you leave college, no matter what college you go to. Most want current within 3 years. Also, if you have an IEP 504, bring that along too. We can't accept that as your documentation, but it's good supplemental documentation so we can see what accommodations you were using in high school and what seemed to, bring about success. So at your exit interview, make sure you get your documentation and say you don't have a psycho evaluation. Maybe you have a different disability and your disabilities comes from a licensed physician. It might be something physical, it might be something gastrointestinal, something like that, or migraines or whatnot. Make sure we can give you a letter of what we need from the physician and the recommended accommodations, but your physician letter needs to be current within 1 year. The application process. There's no separate application for the disabilities department. You do not need to disclose that you have a disability in your application because you'll be held to the same requirements as all other students going in. There are some waivers. So there's a foreign language waiver at St. Joe's. So if you haven't taken a foreign language in high school and it's on your documentation, you can probably get a waiver for the foreign language. And you would take another course in replacement, like at St. Joe's, you have to take another course in another culture, like Irish poetry is one of the ones I can think off the top of my head. Maybe you need a reduced course load. Make sure the university does offer a reduced course load because reduced course load, but you'll still be allowed to live on campus. And just check the classes if they're going to have what you need in order to graduate, and they're going to have the classes that you want to take to get the profession you want to get. So really just ask a lot of questions of everybody. I can't say that enough. Now, this is the big thing, how services differ. In K to 12, you get IEP and 504 plans. They're not accepted at college. And what we're going to do send out is an accommodation plan. At St. Joe's, we have a software called Accommodate, and that's what we use to manage all of our accommodations. And your accommodation plan would be sent out to the professor, and it's just going to list the accommodations that are approved. It's not going to show your disability or anything like that. Big difference is now K through 12, your parents are heavily involved. At college, students rule. That means you're in charge of your accommodations. You're in charge of pretty much not advocating for yourself, but you're going to have to be in charge of your accommodations. If you want extended time in the test, you're going to have to make that request. It's not just going to happen for you. So we're here to help you through that because it is a big change, but we're here to help you through that. And it's much different in K to 12. The law requires supports and services. At college, the law requires equal access. We're just giving you equal access as any other student in the class. K to 12, school pay for the evaluations. College, families must pay for the evaluations. The evaluations are quite expensive and it takes a while to get them. So make sure you have your documentation before you leave high school. I can't say that enough. As I know a lot of students are like trying to go back to high school and get their documentation, and it can be a little bit troublesome to get it sometimes. K to 12, we figure your services can be quite extensive. At college, they're going to be limited. Okay, so after you've deposited, you made a decision you're coming here, you're going to send your documentation ahead of time. And just to know now, your accommodations are probably going to be much different in college than they are in high school. What we'll do is we'll stop and review them and talk about it's more like an interactive process, letting us know what happened in high school, and then we'll tell you what's going to happen here. You'll sign a release form. It's got to be signed every year. It's called the FERPA form, which just allows us to send your accommodation plan to your professors. Professors are not privy to the documentation, only the letter. The FERPA form is good for 1 year, so you'll need to re-sign it every year. And what happens is we have Accommodate, and we have a bunch of different policies on campus. We have the FERPA form. We have a testing center policy. We have a note taker policy. All these different policies. So when you log into Accommodate for the very first time for the semester, all these policies will pop up. You read them, you sign them, and you're done for the year. And your accommodations may be revised at any times. A lot of times when we meet the first time with students, and then I'll say, oh, like you have the note taker accommodation. Oh, no, I never used a note taker in high school. And I'll be like, okay. And say you're in classes. 2 weeks later, you're like, wow, I think I really could use a note taker for this history class. Come down, let me know. We'll talk about it. I'll tell you how it works, and we'll send out a revision of your accommodation plan. So accommodations are not set in stone. We can always work to revise them if needed. These are the most popular accommodations. There's lots of accommodations, but these are the most popular ones. Extended time on testing exams. And the big differences here is like you must make the request for it. It's not just going to happen. You need to take the exam at a testing center because professors at college can't give extended time because just like you're traveling around campus, they're traveling around campus. They don't have a classroom. So they can't give extended time. We have a testing center at St. Joe's. It seats 25 people. If 5 people are in there, that's a crowd. So what you would do is make the request. Instead of going to class that day, you would come down to the testing center. We'd have your exam. You would take it in this separate location, and then we'd send your exam back to you. I'm back to the professor, not you. Audiobooks. Some people love audiobooks, some people don't. But if you like audiobooks, we can get you audiobooks for all of your novel kind of books, your textbooks, that type of stuff. Note taker assistance. How that works, I know K through 12, a lot of times teachers can provide their notes. At the college level, professor notes are considered copyrighted material. So they don't share their notes because they may be writing a book or doing research and they're going to use their notes for that and they won't share their notes because of that. So in that instance, we reach out to everybody in your class asking someone to share their notes. Note takers get paid St. Joe's $50 a semester to share their notes. They upload them to Accommodate, our software. You can go in, view them, print them, download them, upload them, do whatever you want to do with them. They disappear at the end of the semester, so save them if you need them. But you will not know the note taker. Note taker will not know you. It's totally anonymous. It's just someone sharing their notes. And other accommodations or use of technology. A lot of professors have a no technology policy. You're not allowed to be on your laptop. You're not allowed to be on your phone or iPad. But if you have this you have this accommodation, it will overrule their policy. So some students use a smart pen or a laptop. Um, we have captionists and sign language interpreters for our hard of hearing students. Captioning is pretty cool. If you don't know what it is, the student has a microphone on their laptop, and as the class is going on, a captionist is remote somewhere else, and they're typing word for word what's going on in class. And afterwards, they get a whole transcript of everything that the caption is typed. Okay, other support services, and these supports are open to any student on campus. You don't have to have a disability. The first, the Learning Resource Center, we have learning strategy consultants, and these are people that you can meet with on a one-time basis. They might meet with you on time management or study skills or test prep. They have a whole list of things you can meet with them about. They're really busy with us right now because at the beginning of the semester, a lot of students come in and like to make a calendar. They have two different kinds of calendars, like your weekly calendar. Well, they'll plug in your classes, plug in study time, plug in your eating time, plug in your social time. And so that way you have like a calendar just to stay organized. Or they'll do a course calendar, like plan out all of your assignments, when they're due, and all that type of stuff. We have peer tutoring, which is you're being tutored by a student that has already taken the class, gotten a B plus or an A or above, I should say. They have a recommendation from the professor, and they also take like a tutoring course to learn how to tutor. So peer tutoring is available to everybody. Writing center, everybody should use the writing center. Everybody. When you have your paper finished, you send it over to the writing center. You can do it electronically or in person. They will review it for grammatical errors, for errors like making sure your paper's in the proper order. They'll check your citations. So who would not send it? I mean, if they're going to catch a mistake, that would be great. That would be that one less point you'll have deducted. Counseling services. We have two different types of counseling at St. Joe's. One is walk-in. They have walk-in centers in the freshman dorms, two of the freshman dorms. And you can just walk in. You don't need an appointment. Just say you just did really poorly on a test and you're just kind of upset. You just need someone to talk to for a few minutes. You can just pop in and talk to somebody. If they feel like you might need a longer appointment, they'll schedule an appointment at the counseling center. Counseling center, you can schedule appointments. The appointments are an hour at the counseling center. And there are certain limit appointments that you can do per semester. So even when you're looking at colleges, check and make sure. Professor office hours. Every professor has to provide so many hours that they're in their office there to answer questions. Or maybe you did poorly on a test and you're like, I want to know where I went wrong. And the professor will go over your exam with you, talk about upcoming assignments that you may not quite unsure of, or maybe you're doing an assignment. You want to make sure you're doing the right thing. You're on track, giving the professor what he wants. So office hours are great to use. The Student Success Center, have a couple different programs. The first one's the rebound program. That's for freshmen in the second semester, like rebounds going on now. And it's for students that didn't got below a 2.0 in their first freshman fall semester. And they're assigned with a mentor. They meet with their mentor 4 times a semester, plus every week there's a workshop. And like one's on time management, one's on note taking, one's on study skills. Every week there's a new workshop, and we're just trying to make sure that you use the tools you have on campus to be successful and to bring your GPA up. Um, Academic transition coaching program. This is something you have to pay for. And what it is, it's mostly geared towards freshmen, but there are students upper class that are still in it. But it's like an every other week thing for them. For freshmen, it's once a week. You meet with someone for 50 minutes a week, and they have a master's degree or above, and they work with you, going through like doing time management with you, looking at the assignments that you have coming up, making sure you're prepping for an exam you have next week, not prepping the night before, but starting the prep now, figuring out what you need to do to prep for an exam. If they feel like you need a tutor, they'll make sure you sign up for a tutor. I have the Aspire program on there, but I'm going to talk about that in my next slide. We have a lot of summer programs. The early move-in programs are the best. You usually come to campus 3 or 4 days ahead of time. We have all different ones. Like one is I can't think of it now, a service one where you do service in different parts of the city, plus you do fun things. There's a health wellness one. They do like a yogurt retreat and they do meditation, plus they do a lot of fun things. The one that comes out of my office is AIM, and they're just getting acclimated to campus. They do a lot of fun things. They went to like that trampoline park last year. They went to a Phillies game. They did some fun things. And early move-in programs are a great opportunity for you to get acclimated to campus before everyone else comes, and just to meet people, like you're meeting a small group of people. And a lot of people make friends that way right away. So you're not trying to make friends with 111 people. You're only trying to make friends with 40 people. It's just a way to get to really know people. The Aspire program. This is kind of two-part. It's for students that are autistic or on the spectrum. They meet weekly with a case manager. They work with them with all the campus supports we have, I've talked about. They work with faculty members. They have peer mentoring, a mentor that is, gone through the program before. They help find employment. They have study hall, I think it's once or twice a week. They have a residence just for students. It's optional. If you want to live there, you live there. If not, and they do a lot of social activities out of that um, residence. And my slide is wrong. They says here they currently have 41 students, and I was talking to the director of the program yesterday. They actually have 80 students right now. And the other part of the Kinney Center is during the summer they have a camp. It's for students that are K to 12. They come to this camp, and it's a great opportunity for education majors or even students that belong to the Aspire program to work the camp during the summer. And everybody I talk to loves working at the camp. They said it's such a great experience and they love it. And they usually do it every year. So it's a great opportunity. Okay, so now I'm open to questions. Anyone got any questions?
Hi. So we did have one good question.
Okay.
Do you have any advice for a student in high school that didn't meet accommodation requirements and anything that they could do at the college level that might help them get accommodations?
You're going to have documentation.
Okay.
That is the thing. So I would talk to maybe your counselor there now, and I don't know what they can do, but you need documentation coming into college. Like if you're not coming with, I mean, unless you can meet with a doctor, some people, like I had a girl today, she's a sophomore. She was just diagnosed ADHD for the very first time. Didn't have accommodations, but just struggling and, was diagnosed. But I would speak to your counselor at Radnor and talk to them about that.
Mhm. Um, and I think you mentioned this, but like the documents that we have at Radnor, like an IEP or a 504, that's not what's necessarily following you to college. You just
Correct.
need to advocate for what accommodations you think are reasonable based on the documentation that you have, which could be a psychoeducational evaluation
Yeah,
from outside of
that's
Radnor.
the most popular thing that we get. We usually get them from high schools, and like I said, send your IP and 504 along with
Hmm.
it, but we can't accept them alone.
Yeah.
Sometimes just give us the good picture of the student if we have that.
Hmm. Um, I have a question.
Sure.
Could you talk about what communication you have with parents, if any?
Very little.
Okay.
Very little communication with parents. Parents are invited to the intake meeting when we do our sit down original intake meeting, very first time meeting. We welcome parents to come because parents do have a lot of good input because they've been managing your accommodations all these years. We do invite them. But after that, we have very little contact with parents. Actually, students have to sign a FERPA form with the university to allow us to talk to parents. We're
Hmm.
not allowed to talk to your parents unless you allow us to talk to your parents. Not being that I don't talk to parents, some students sign it, and I do talk to parents occasionally, but it's not something that I do on a regular basis.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big differences.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
okay. Um, we'll wait a few minutes, just one more minute to see if there's any other questions that roll in. Um, you can put them in the Q&A you should see a Q&A at the top of your screen. Um, and then I'll be able to see them once you type them in. Um, One thing I do want to just mention is what's so unique to St. Joe's is you do have programs like the Aspire program at the Kinney Center. That's not every college. So, you
Now,
want to do your research to kind of see what types of services are available. Some of them are, very structured like that, and some of them are not. It just depends on the college.
yeah, I can't say enough. Like when you're looking at universities, whatever your top two or three are, go to Admitted Students Day. Do like I said, we have Walk with the Hawk. Like spend a day on campus. It's a big decision, and you want to make sure you make the right decision for you.
Hmm.
For what's right for you, what's going to work for you. Yeah, I can't say ask questions and visit, visit, visit.
Yep. And for uh, our students on both on Schoology and on the Radnor High School website, we do have some resources and like questions to ask for students that might have a learning disability in the
Hmm.
college search. Um, okay, here's another question. What's a good source of colleges that could be a good fit for kids with an IEP? That's a tough one.
That is a tough one. Like I said, you're gonna if it's it depends what your disability is.
Yep.
It really depends on your disability is, and it depends what your accommodations are. Like I said, when you're visiting those colleges, go stop at the disabilities office, call ahead of time, be like, hey, we're taking a tour on campus. I have people do it all the time. Can we stop by your office? And
Hmm.
they'll come with their documentation, and I'll do a quick skim of it and be like, they'll say, like, I really need extended time. Like, are you going to grant this? And I'll be like, yeah, I would grant this. Or I really need note takers. I'll let them know I'm going to grant this. A lot of colleges have admitted students days. Like we have been coming up where a lot of offices are on campus and you can go, you can ask questions. Just ask questions. I mean, for every disability, every college is going to be a little bit different.
Yeah. And I would definitely just encourage you, meet with your college and career counselor. So, meet with me or Mrs. Goff or Mrs. Weidlich because, we can get to know you and your student, and we might have some suggestions based on, what they're doing in the high school. Um, I will say one book that I have in my office that I'll sometimes pull out is the K and W guide. It's K and W guide to colleges. It's kind of like a FISC guide to colleges, but it's
Hmm.
specifically for students with learning needs. And so it kind
Okay.
of uh, outlines what accommodations are offered. So they might say whether there's some structured programs like the ones you mentioned. Um, and so it's certainly not an exhaustive list, but you can always, your student can come down to my office and check that out if they want. Um, let's see. What is the best way to research what types of colleges meet certain needs, like in a 504? Um,
I feel like it's the same answer. Like you just
mhm.
have to go and you have to ask. Like if you need accommodations, make sure you visit the disabilities office.
Yeah. So I'm going to put in the I'll have to put it in the Q&A, but I'll put a link to our website because for parents, you can see our website. You can't see our Schoology. Um, but on our website, on the colleges page, here, I'll put a link. If you scroll all the way kind of down, you'll see a couple tabs with different topics, and one of them is for learning differences. And so that might give you a good place of like, here's some initial questions that you could ask when you're just starting this search out. Um, and it also kind of walks you through the process a little bit. Like I said, for our students who might be on the call tonight, if you go to the counseling department Schoology group, we have a folder with different resources and websites for the college search for students with learning needs. So you can check some things out there. And I think in this case, it's so important to have that individual meeting with us. Right now we're meeting with all of our juniors. So if you're a junior in the room and you haven't met with your college and career counselor, come on in. Because we can really help you find, here are some good schools that might be a good fit based on your learning needs. Okay. Let's see. I think that might be it. Yeah.
Okay. If you think of any other questions, students, you can always email us, me, at sds@sju.edu. Just say, hey, I was at the Radnor thing. I have this question. I'll be happy to answer it. If you want to come by and visit, I'm happy to
Thank
have
you.
visitors. Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. We had a group of students on your campus in the fall, and they all had such a great time. They loved it.
Okay,
Um,
good.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us tonight.
Yeah,
I
thank you
hope,
very much. Thanks for your
yeah.
time.
Yeah. All right. And I hope you have a good night, Pat.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.